So as I look at 38, the question said we were looking at 0.5, they had b, and if you like to use x for your variable, go ahead and use x, plus 4 is equal to 2 times parenthesis b plus 2. So if I am doing this problem, what I want to be doing, this side, nothing has to happen, but here we have to distribute first. So I have 0.5b plus 4 is equal to 2b plus 4. So you're kind of thinking, oh, they both have a plus 4, so let's get all your variables on one side first. So our larger variable, 2b, and the reason we always want to get rid of the smaller one is later when we do inequalities. Because inequalities, if it's negative in front, then you have to switch that inequality. So in this case, I'm going to subtract 0.5b from both sides. So some of you, this is the work that you're not really showing to me. You're just kind of putting down, some of you will put 2.5. Because you're like, oh, 0.5 and 2, but they're on opposite sides of the equal sign. So when I am looking at this, this is going to be 1.5b, right? Because I'm subtracting. I have plus 4 equals, on this side I have 4. So we're subtracting 4 from both sides. We go, oh, I need to get this 1.5b by itself, so I subtract 4. And I get 0 equals 1.5b. Which means, what does b have to be? What's the only thing I can take times 1.5 to get 0? It has to be 0, right? So even if I divide 1.5, 0 divided by 1.5 on your calculators, this is always equal to 0. If on your calculator you ever take 1.5 and divide it by 0, this is undefined. You cannot divide by 0, okay? But this is just 0. B equals 0. And if I go back and put in 0 here, I get 2 times 2, which is 4. And here I get 0 and I get 4. And 0 makes it true if I do the check, right? So I always kind of want to do a mental check as I am looking at that. Absolute value by itself, we end up with 3. On this side, you get the absolute value of n, which means there are 2 solutions. This means the distance, what number is the distance of 3 from 0? That's what you're asking. That's what these 2 lines mean to you. They mean, give me 2 numbers that are a distance of 3 from 0. So the easy one is n equals 3 is 3 away. What's the other one on the other side of 0? It's also negative 3. So there's always 2 possible answers. So when you are looking at this one, sometimes mathematicians don't like writing it out twice like that. They might write n equals plus minus 3. These are the same answers, right? It's just a quicker shorthand way of writing it, okay? On the number line, 3, negative 3. Well, we don't keep it that easy that long, right? There's like maybe 1 or 2 that are that easy in your homework. So we start getting to problems like this. So when you are looking at this one, the key thing is you're always isolating absolute value. And you're never changing anything inside that absolute value. So you can see they subtracted 2, and then they got absolute value by itself. I would like you to write, as you are looking at this, the positive possibility. So there's always a positive, and there's always a negative when you split the 2 cases. So we split the 2 cases, there's always, so notice this doesn't change. Now when you go back and watch this video today, you might need to even rewatch some of this a couple times as you look at the example. And they might do it just a little differently than I'm saying it, right? So the person there might not make as big of a deal about some of this as I am, okay? So when you take a look at this, you're positive, and then you solve it just like normal. You go through and add 5 and divide, and you get one answer is x equals 9. Are these the same? Is one 9 and negative 9? No. Is one negative 4 and positive? No. You got to solve the equation individually. So you can't just go, oh, absolute value, it's always going to be 13 and negative 13. No. You have to solve each case. So just be really careful as you do that. It's not hard. You just got to take the time and make sure you're showing that. So when I talk about showing your work, making sure you're showing all of these steps. So leave plenty of room. Those of you that like to go across on your homework on notebook paper, don't. Go down. Leave lots of room. Show so that I can see what you are doing. Okay? So as we are looking at those are our two solutions. If I would check that and I plug negative 4 into this original equation, I'd get negative 8. Negative 8 minus 5 is a negative 13. The absolute value of negative 13, if I would have written this, what's the absolute value of negative 13? It is just 13. So the absolute value means how far is negative 13 from 0? It's 13. And 13 plus 2 makes that true. It is 15. So that check, right? What if I do this number? And I plug it in here. I have the absolute value of 2 times 9. That's going to be 18 minus 5. Oh, that's the absolute value of 13 too. How far is 13 from 0? 13. 13. So both of these check if I replace them in the original. And that's what you have to kind of be able to do as you're doing the problems. It's great to check the answers in the back and to check the answers in your textbook, but you got to be really careful for that, okay? All right. So when you isolate the absolute value, the number on the other side must be non-negative. If absolute value equals negative, there is no solution, okay? So if absolute value of anything, if you ever get in your homework equaling a negative number, no solution, okay? Now, I am not going to take the time looking at these because you're going to see them in your notes on the video. But this problem, I just want you to take a look at in your notes because you'll see one similar to this on our test for this unit where we're looking at solving absolute value and writing these equations. So some of the key things, and in the video tonight, they might not point this out as much. I can't remember what I watched there. So we read the problem. It says, starting 100 feet away, your friend skates towards you, passes you, keep skating. Hopefully no one's skating for a long time, right? 80 degrees today, it feels wonderful, doesn't it? So, at a speed of 20 feet per second, her distance from you in feet is t seconds is multiplied by this equation. What does the d stand for? Distance. Absolute value of 100. Where is the 100? That's how far away she was. So, how far away, right? They're usually going to tell you how far away. So when you write this equation, they're going to tell you this. How far away was she? Minus this 20, that was her speed. So I put speed times time. Now, sometimes when you're looking at these, you go, I don't get how to write this. So how far was the distance? 40 feet away. 40. Absolute value of 100. That's how far she started from you, right? That's how far away at the start. Minus 20, that's your speed times time. So if you're thinking about this, she's 100 feet away. She's skating towards you. You're standing here. She's skating towards you. What time will she be 40 feet away from you? She keeps going. When again will she be 40 feet? So you're going to get two answers, two different times. So they went through and solved this problem. And this is the one that you can see it in your notes. They split this. Notice, this was the positive, right? Equals positive 40. Over here, everything in here stayed the same. It's just that this became the negative or opposite. So whenever you have absolute value, there's always two possibilities, okay? if you plug in 3 for t, or you plug in 7, they're both going to make this true. Okay? If I would have had this equals a negative 40, there's no solution, right? You can't be negative 40 feet away. Like, what's negative 40? You're either 40 feet away or you're not, right? Okay, so they give you another one that you're going to look at in your notes and solve. I would like you to turn to page 58 if there weren't any other questions on 105. So if you finished your 105 and if you need help on anything on it, in class I will help you. I'll put the 105 back up. But I just want to look at a few of the ones that are in this assignment that over the years I know have given people some problems. So the first thing I just want you to take a look at in 1 through 9. I want you to think, are there any that are going to be no solution anything? Absolute value equals a negative. As you look at 1 to 9. So I want you to tell the person kind of kitty corner or bayou or, oops, this is unit C. You better go to B first. Kitty corner or next to you in 1 through 9. Do you think there's any, and if you want to go 1 to 12, do you think there's any that should be no solution because they are negative? So talk to the person kind of by you. You're going to kind of, any that have no solution, 1 to 12. All right, anyone have any that they think no solution? Any absolute value equal to negative? 5 and 9. Ooh, I agree with 5. Absolute value equals a negative number. Right away, I'm going to stop this one. No solution. If I asked you why, absolute value can never equal a negative. It's like saying what's negative distance away from 0. Okay? Number 9. Is the absolute value isolated in number 9? It has a negative 3 times it outside it. So you have to get the absolute value by itself first. So I agree, everyone kind of thinks number 9, but my first step in number 9, kind of like number 8, is going to be I have to divide by negative 3 first. I have to isolate. So keep in mind, you are always trying to isolate the absolute value. So when I isolate this absolute value, I get the absolute value, I got to keep that, of 2w equals negative 6 divided by negative 3 is positive 2. So now, once it's isolated, that's when I decide if it's undefined or if it's there's solution or no solution. So great job picking those two. But you might find some other ones in here that are going to be no solution, right? Because you have to isolate absolute value first, okay? Let's go down to everyone always hates, even though it's not that ugly of a one. Let's look at 15 together. So we start with 15. Does it look like we should be able to solve 15? Okay, so let's do it. First step, how would you do it? Minus the 3. Yeah, minus the 3. So I have absolute value of d plus 2/3 equals negative 3. So once we have our absolute value isolated, we want to split it. There's a positive and negative case, right? Should there be 2 solutions for this one? We aren't going to say anything, so let's split it. One possible solution, and I'm going to do my work over here, is that d plus 2/3 equals exactly what I had here, which was negative 3/4. And the other possibility is that D plus 2/3 without the absolute value is going to equal 3/4. Everyone agree? Anyone having a problem with what I'm doing up here? Everyone feels pretty good. You have a problem?
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, like, only when it turns negative, that's when it splits them?
Oh, what did we say about if an absolute value equals negative? It's always what? No solution. So do you have a problem with me splitting this? You should have a serious problem, right? Because what did it equal? Isn't this negative? An absolute value is all by itself, so shouldn't I stop? Quit, don't waste my time, don't go through and all this extra work. And I always have people go, Mrs. Thompson, I checked the answer in the back, it says no solution, but I know I should have subtracted. No, this is negative, right? Anytime absolute value totally by itself, nothing else, equals a negative, no solution. Be careful for that on this assignment, okay? You definitely are going to do the split. Here, I add 1, right, to both sides, and I get this, absolute value of 3f plus 0.5 equals 8. I'm definitely going to split that and get 2 different answers. But this one, it was equal negative. So you just got to get in your brain when absolute value is by itself. So if I was looking at number 12, okay, what's my next step? I got to do the split. So if we were looking at stuff, so you want to give it a shot with writing one of my equations from this one? No absolute value, just 3f plus 0.5, and let's go positive first. Equals 8. And we're going to put an or the other case, if I'm looking at this place, would be 3f plus point negative now. I'm going to solve each of those individually. Does that make sense to you guys? This is a little different as we get into the absolute value, okay? So as you're taking a look.